The Crimson Fleet's mistake. Captain Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cool metal of the observation deck window, watching the rust-colored surface of Kepler 442 bits rotate slowly beneath her ship. The research vessel Terra Nova had been orbiting this distant world for 3 weeks now, and today's discovery would change everything for humanity's expanding presence in this sector of the galaxy. Dr. Sarah Kim burst through the airlock doors, her face flushed with excitement and her hands clutching a data pad like it contained the secrets of the universe. Sarah was brilliant, one of Earth's leading archaeologists, and Elena had never seen her this animated about a discovery before. "Captain, you need to see this immediately," Sarah said, her voice trembling with barely contained enthusiasm. "The artifact we found in the Northern Canyon isn't just ancient technology. It's something far more significant than we imagined." Elena turned from the window, noting the serious expressions on the faces of her senior staff who had gathered in the observation lounge. Commander Torres, her first officer, stood with arms crossed, while Chief Engineer Park examined readouts on his portable scanner. The atmosphere in the room felt charged with anticipation and something else Elena couldn't quite identify. "Show me what you found, Doctor," Elena said, settling into her command chair. Sarah activated the holographic display in the center of the room. A three-dimensional image appeared, showing a crystalline structure roughly the size of a small building. The artifact pulsed with soft blue light, and intricate symbols covered its surface in patterns that seemed to shift and move as they watched. "This isn't just technology, Captain. It's a beacon," Sarah explained, her words tumbling over each other in her excitement. "The quantum signatures suggest it's been dormant for over 50,000 years, but it's been slowly awakening since we began our excavation. The mathematical principles embedded in its construction are beyond anything in our current understanding." Elena studied the hologram carefully. Something about the artifact's design triggered an instinctive unease, as if her subconscious recognized a threat her rational mind couldn't yet comprehend. Awakening how? And what kind of beacon? Before Sarah could answer, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Lieutenant Chen's voice echoed through the speakers from the bridge, carrying an edge of concern that made everyone in the room tense. "Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the outer system. Whatever's coming, it's big." Elena was already moving toward the bridge before he finished speaking. Her crew followed close behind, their earlier excitement replaced by the focused alertness that came with potential danger. The bridge of the Terra Nova hummed with activity as officers checked their stations and confirmed system status. "Report," Elena commanded as she took her position in the captain's chair. Lieutenant Chen looked up from his sensor console, his young face pale but determined. "Ma'am, we have 17 large vessels entering the system. Their configuration doesn't match any known human ship design, and their energy output is off the charts. They're heading directly for our position." The main view screen shifted to show the approaching fleet. Elena felt her breath catch in her throat as the alien ships came into view. They were massive dark red vessels that looked like they had been carved from crystallized blood. Each ship was easily 10 times the size of the Terra Nova, and they moved through space with predatory grace. "Alien contact," Commander Torres said quietly, voicing what everyone on the bridge already knew. This was humanity's first encounter with another sapient species, and Elena realized with growing dread that it might also be their last. The communication board lit up with incoming signals. Lieutenant Chen worked frantically to establish translation protocols while the alien fleet continued its approach. After several tense minutes, he looked up with a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. The universal translation matrix is working, but the tone suggests this isn't a friendly diplomatic contact." The main screen flickered and changed to show the interior of an alien bridge. The being that appeared was tall and angular, with crimson skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its eyes were completely black, and when it spoke, its voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. "Primitive human vessel, I am War Marshal Zix Thera of the Crimson Imperium. You have trespassed in sacred space and disturbed that which should remain untouched. You will surrender the beacon immediately and evacuate the system within 72 of your planetary rotations." Elena stood slowly, drawing on every lesson in diplomacy and first contact protocols she had learned during her years in the Earth Space Command. "War Marshal, I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth vessel Terra Nova. We are peaceful explorers conducting scientific research. We had no knowledge this system was claimed by your people." Zixthera's laugh was like the sound of breaking glass. "Peaceful. You humans spread through the galaxy like a plague, claiming worlds and resources without permission. Your species is young and ignorant, but ignorance is not an excuse for theft. The beacon you have awakened belongs to powers far beyond your comprehension." Dr. Kim stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding diplomatic caution. "War Marshal, the artifact appears to be from a civilization that predates both our species by tens of thousands of years. Perhaps we could work together to understand its purpose and significance." The alien commander's expression grew even more contemptuous. "Work together? With scavengers who barely understand fire. The Crimson Imperium has ruled this galaxy for 3 millennia. We do not negotiate with insects." Zixthera leaned forward, and Elena could see rows of sharp teeth behind thin lips. "You have 72 hours to comply with our demands. After that time expires, we will demonstrate why lesser species fear our fleet." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge of the Terra Nova in stunned silence. Elena looked around at her crew, seeing the mixture of fear and determination on their faces. These were good people, scientists and explorers who had signed up to push the boundaries of human knowledge, not to fight wars with alien empires. "Options?" Elena asked her senior staff. Commander Torres was the first to speak. "Captain, their ships outgun us by orders of magnitude. In a straight fight, we wouldn't last 5 minutes against one of their vessels, let alone 17. Chief Engineer Park pulled up tactical displays on his console. "Our engines are fast enough to outrun them if we leave immediately. We could evacuate to the outer system and call for help from Earth Command." Dr. Kim shook her head vigorously. "We can't just abandon the artifact. Captain, I'm beginning to understand what it does, and it's incredible. The beacon isn't just calling for help. It's designed to activate defensive systems left behind by its creators. If we can fully activate it, we might not need to run." Elena weighed their options carefully. The safe choice was obvious. Retreat, regroup, and let the politicians and military strategists on Earth decide how to handle first contact with a hostile alien empire. But something about the War Marshal's casual dismissal of humanity as insects triggered a deep anger in her chest. "Doctor, how long do you need to fully activate the beacon?" Sarah consulted her datapad quickly. "Based on the activation patterns I've observed, maybe 18 hours if we focus all our resources on the project. And if this defensive system you mentioned doesn't work, then we'll have learned something valuable about ancient technology before we die," Sarah replied with grim humor. Elena made her decision. "We're not running. Commander Torres, set us down near the artifact site. Dr. Kim, take whatever team and equipment you need. We're going to see what this beacon can really do." The next 18 hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. While Sarah and her team worked around the clock to understand the artifact's control systems, Elena had the rest of her crew preparing defensive positions around their landing site. Chief Engineer Park jury-rigged their mining equipment into improvised weapons, while Commander Torres organized the evacuation of non-essential personnel to secure bunkers. As the 72-hour deadline approached, the Crimson Fleet moved into attack formation above the planet. Elena stood beside the now-glowing artifact, watching Sarah make final adjustments to the alien control interface they had cobbled together from human technology and ancient alien science. "How much longer, Doctor?" "Almost there, Captain. The quantum matrix is stabilizing, and I'm detecting response signals from deep space. Whatever this beacon is calling, it's answering." The sky above them suddenly filled with crimson light as the alien fleet began its attack. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, turning sections of the planet's surface into seas of molten glass. But the beams avoided the area around the beacon, as if even the war marshal recognized that destroying it would be a mistake. Instead, smaller craft began landing around the human position. Elena watched through her binoculars as alien soldiers in powered armor advanced across the rocky terrain. They moved with confidence, clearly expecting an easy victory over the primitive humans who had dared to defy the Crimson Imperium. "Captain," Chief Engineer Park called over the communication system, "our improvised defenses are ready. It's not much, but we might be able to buy Dr. Kim a few more minutes." Elena was about to respond when the beacon behind her suddenly erupted in brilliant light. The crystalline structure rose into the air, supported by some invisible force, and began transmitting a signal so powerful that it could be heard as well as seen. Sarah staggered back from the control interface, her face lit by the beacon's glow. "It's working, Captain. The beacon is fully active, and it's calling something big. The quantum signatures are unlike anything in our databases." The advancing alien soldiers had stopped their attack, staring up at the beacon with what Elena recognized as fear. Even from orbit, she could see the Crimson Fleet ships changing formation, as if preparing to retreat. War Marshal Zixthera's voice crackled over their communication system, no longer carrying its earlier arrogance. "Human vessel, what have you done? That beacon should not be active. You do not understand the forces you are unleashing." Elena smiled grimly as she responded. "War Marshal, you called us primitive insects. Perhaps it's time you learned that even insects can bite." The beacon's light suddenly intensified, and Elena could see new contacts appearing on her ship's sensors. Whatever the beacon had called was arriving, and from the energy readings, it was powerful enough to make the Crimson Imperium's fleet look like children's toys. As the first of the ancient Guardian ships materialized in the system's outer reaches, Elena realized that humanity's first contact with alien life was about to become something much more significant. The galaxy was about to learn that underestimating humans was a mistake that could have catastrophic consequences. The galaxy learns to fear. The ancient Guardian ships that materialized at the edge of the Kepler 442 system were unlike anything Elena had ever imagined. Where the Crimson Imperium vessels looked like they had been carved from crystallized blood, these newcomers appeared to be constructed from pure starlight and shadow. They moved through space with fluid grace, their hulls seeming to shift between solid matter and pure energy. Commander Jake Morrison had arrived on the fast courier ship Hermes just as the beacon activated, bringing with him a small fleet of human vessels that had been mining asteroids in nearby systems. Jake was a veteran of the Belt Wars, a grizzled spacer who had spent decades turning rocks into resources for humanity's expanding colonies. Now he found himself commanding humanity's impromptu defense force as ancient powers awakened around them. "Captain Vasquez," Jake's voice crackled over the communication link from his command ship. "My fleet isn't much to look at, but we've got experience turning mining equipment into weapons. Whatever you've awakened down there, it's got the Crimson Fleet spooked." Elena watched her tactical display as the Guardian ships spread throughout the system with mathematical precision. Each vessel was easily the size of the largest Crimson battleships, but they moved with an economy of motion that suggested vast technological superiority. "Commander Morrison, I think we're about to witness something unprecedented. Dr. Kim believes these Guardian ships are automated defenses left by an ancient civilization." On the planet's surface, Sarah continued to monitor the beacon's transmissions. The crystalline structure now hovered 20 meters above the ground, its light pulsing in complex patterns that seemed to synchronize with the movements of the Guardian fleet. Through her analysis equipment, she could detect quantum-level communications passing between the beacon and the ancient vessels. "Captain, the Guardian ships are scanning everything in the system," Sarah reported, her voice filled with scientific excitement despite their dangerous situation. "They're analyzing the Crimson Fleet, our ships, even the planetary surface. It's like they're gathering intelligence before making a decision." War Marshal Zixthera's fleet had pulled back to the system's outer regions, clearly uncertain how to respond to the appearance of the Guardians. Alina could see individual Crimson ships maneuvering nervously, their formation discipline breaking down as fear spread through their ranks. Alina felt a chill run down her spine. Guardian vessel, this is Captain Alina Vasquez, representing humanity. We activated your beacon in response to threats from the Crimson Imperium. We mean no harm to you or your creators. Creators extinct for 47,832 standard cycles. The Guardian replied emotionlessly. Final directive remains active. Protect developing species from Crimson Imperium expansion. Humans demonstrate curiosity and cooperation. Classification: protected species. Commander Morrison's voice cut through the communication channel, carrying barely controlled excitement. Captain, you need to see this. The Guardians are doing something to the asteroid belt. Alina's tactical display updated to show the incredible sight. 3 Guardian ships had positioned themselves around the system's asteroid belt and were using some form of advanced technology to reshape the floating rocks. Massive asteroids were being pulled together and fused into enormous structures that looked disturbingly like weapons platforms. Dr. Kim's readings confirmed what Alina was beginning to suspect. The Guardians are building a defensive network, Captain. They're turning the entire asteroid belt into a fortified zone. The technology involved is so advanced that our instruments can barely track what they're doing. Meanwhile, the Crimson Fleet was receiving urgent communications from their war marshal. Zixthera's earlier arrogance had completely disappeared, replaced by something Alina had never expected to hear from the alien commander. Fear. All Crimson vessels, this is War Marshal Zixthera. We are facing Guardian-class defensive units. Repeat, the humans have somehow activated ancient Guardian protocols. Fleet Command orders immediate withdrawal to Jump Point 7. But as the Crimson ships began to turn away from the planet, the Guardian vessels moved to intercept them. The ancient ships didn't attack immediately. Instead, they simply positioned themselves to block every possible escape route from the system. The message was clear. The Crimson Imperium fleet wasn't leaving until the Guardians decided to let them go. Commander Morrison took advantage of the situation to move his improvised human fleet into better defensive positions. His miners and engineers had been working frantically to convert their industrial equipment into weapons, and while their ships were still no match for Crimson battleships, they now had the psychological advantage of allied Guardian vessels. Captain Vasquez, Jake reported, my people have rigged some of our asteroid mining charges with proximity sensors. If any Crimson ship tries to approach the planet, they're going to get a very unpleasant surprise. Alina approved the defensive preparations, but her attention was focused on the larger implications of what was happening. Humanity had stumbled into the middle of an ancient conflict, and somehow they had been designated as the inheritors of a defensive network that could challenge one of the galaxy's major powers. The Guardian communication system activated again, this time broadcasting on frequencies that reached across the entire system. Crimson Imperium vessels, you have violated protected space and threatened a developing species under Guardian protection. Historical records indicate 1,247 previous violations of galactic accords by your empire. War Marshal Zixthera's response carried desperate authority. Guardian systems, the Crimson Imperium claims this system by right of prior discovery. These humans are trespassers who have illegally activated forbidden technology. Historical analysis complete, the Guardian replied with mechanical finality. Crimson Imperium established no permanent presence in this system. Human exploration rights supersede your territorial claims. Furthermore, your species has consistently violated the protection protocols established by our creators. Alina watched in amazement as the Guardian ships began to demonstrate their capabilities. One vessel approached a Crimson battleship and simply extended what looked like a beam of coherent energy. The alien ship shields, which had easily deflected human weapons, offered no resistance at all. The Guardian beam passed through the battleship's defenses and disabled its weapon systems without causing any permanent damage. Demonstration complete, the Guardian announced. Crimson Imperium fleet will withdraw immediately or face escalation of defensive measures. But Zixthera had spent 3 millennia as part of a species that ruled through fear and violence. The concept of retreat from primitive humans was apparently unacceptable. All Crimson vessels, attack formation. We will not be intimidated by ancient machines and human scavengers. The War Marshal's decision proved to be catastrophic. As the Crimson Fleet moved to attack positions, the Guardian ships responded with devastating efficiency. Energy beams that made the aliens' weapons look like toys carved through battleship hulls, like they were made of paper. Advanced Crimson shields and armor offered no protection against technology that was thousands of years more advanced. Commander Morrison watched the battle through his ship's sensors, hardly believing what he was seeing. "Captain, the Guardians aren't just defeating the Crimson Fleet. They're completely outclassing them. It's like watching adults deal with children who've gotten hold of firecrackers." Dr. Kim was monitoring the beacon's communications with the Guardian network. "Captain, the Guardians are coordinating their attack through the beacon. They're using quantum entanglement to share tactical information instantaneously across the entire fleet. The Crimson ships don't stand a chance." Elena felt a mixture of relief and concern as she watched the ancient defensive network systematically disable the Crimson Imperium fleet. Relief because her people were safe, but concern about what this meant for humanity's future in a galaxy where such powerful forces existed. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 20 minutes. When it was over, most of the Crimson Fleet was disabled and drifting powerless through space. Only 3 ships remained functional, including War Marshal Zixthera's flagship. The Guardian communication system activated one final time. "Crimson Imperium survivors will return to your territory immediately. You will broadcast the following message to all vessels in your empire. Humans are under Guardian protection. Human space is forbidden territory. Any Crimson vessel that enters human-claimed systems will be destroyed without warning." Zixthera's response came through gritted teeth. "This is not over, humans. The galaxy is vast, and the Crimson Imperium has long memories." Threat assessment updated. The Guardian replied with mechanical precision. "Any future aggression against protected species will result in direct action against Crimson Imperium home systems. This is your final warning." The surviving Crimson ships limped away from the system, carrying with them news that would spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication networks. Humanity, the species that the Crimson Imperium had dismissed as primitive insects, had somehow awakened ancient protectors and turned one of the galaxy's most feared fleets into a warning to others. As the immediate threat passed, Elena found herself dealing with the long-term implications of what had occurred. The Guardian ships remained in the system, apparently taking up permanent positions to protect human interests. Dr. Kim reported that the beacon continued to pulse with activity, maintaining its connection to the ancient defensive network. Commander Morrison's voice carried wonder as he addressed Elena over the communication link. "Captain, do you realize what just happened here? We didn't just survive first contact with a hostile alien empire. We turned them into our unwitting messengers. Every species in the galaxy is going to hear about this." Elena nodded slowly, understanding the magnitude of their situation. "The question is, Commander, are we ready for what comes next? We've made it clear that humanity isn't going to be anyone's victim, but that also means we're going to attract attention from powers we can't even imagine yet." Dr. Kim's final report confirmed Elena's concerns and hopes in equal measure. "Captain, the Guardian network is vast. The quantum signatures suggest there are thousands of these defensive platforms scattered throughout the galaxy, all waiting for the beacon's activation signal. We haven't just gained protectors. We've inherited the responsibility of an ancient civilization's final gift to the galaxy." As Elena looked up at the stars from the surface of Kepler 442 bits, She realized that humanity had crossed a threshold from which there could be no return. They were no longer alone in the galaxy, and they were no longer defenseless. The warning that would spread from this system would carry a simple but profound message. Earth's children had come to the stars, and they brought with them the power to awaken forces that even the galaxy's greatest empires feared. The Terran Age had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.